Jadav is back at it here to give everyone my final Walking Dead Season 8 reaction video. But before I continue with that, it's extremely important if you're not caught up to the point where I am in rewatching or watching The Walking Dead that you take the initiative and pay attention to this episode title, which of course I'll put in the description for you. If that's the case, you find out that you're not caught up, I suggest, and so does everybody else, that you don't watch this video any further to avoid any potential spoilers. This will be The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode number 16, the season finale of Season 8, titled Wrath. This will be my reaction review recap of the episode, and I've seen it a few times, just doing a reaction to it to have it on my channel, and I'm doing a reaction to it due to the fact that they announced that Season 11 of The Walking Dead is going to be the final season of the main Walking Dead show. We start off at the hilltop. Rick and company prepare to launch their offensive against the Saviors. In the midst of all the events, Rick has flashbacks to the day before the apocalypse that Carl had alluded to in his last letter to him, in which a young Carl was leading him down a country road. And then Rick goes to tend to Gracie and encounters Sadiq. Rick asks how Carl was bitten. Sadiq tells him it happened while honoring Sadiq's mother, someone he never knew. And then later, Rick, Michonne, Daryl, and Maggie review and prepare to depart to investigate the Savior's plans that had been previously delivered by Gregory on behalf of Dwight. However, they are unaware that Negan planted these as a ruse to entrap them. And then meanwhile, Morgan starts hallucinating again and nearly kills Henry, actually, before Carol stops him. Now, Morgan later kills a living Savior in cold blood. However, Jesus suggests that he shouldn't kill the living so willingly. And then back at the sanctuary, Eugene delivers and demonstrates his homemade ammo supply to Negan and recommends that they use a firing line approach to fight Rick's army. And then Negan sends a decoy group of Saviors to set up a roadblock as part of the ruse to entrap Rick, while he, Gabriel, Eugene, and Laura and the rest of them set out on their real course. As they drive, Negan confesses to Gabriel that he intentionally sacrificed the roadblock group, expecting Rick will kill them all, which he does, but that this was a necessary sacrifice as they were also armed with more false intel that would lead Rick's group to into his ambush, while thinking the plans from Dwight were legitimate. And then Gabriel, on hearing this, tries to escape the moving vehicle to warn Rick, but is caught by Eugene. And apparently Gabriel is pretty blind. He can't see very well since he got the walker guts on him. Apparently it affected him. And then following the map, Rick's group witness a massive walker horde in the distance and continue on. They end up in a large field where Negan taunts them over a public address system that I'm sure Eugene rigged up. And then Negan reveals that he has Gabriel at gunpoint and their traitor Dwight is a prisoner and that his people are ready to fire. He starts to count down from 3 and a firing line of Saviors appear on the ridge line of the hill, ready to shoot down Rick's group. However, as they fire, their weapons all backfire due to Eugene purposely giving faulty ammo, killing or injuring many, including yours truly, Negan, and rendering the guns ineffective. As Rick's group engage in gun battle, Gabriel and Dwight overpower their captors and force Negan to flee with his baseball bat. And there's a part where Negan sees everything that's going on, and he's like, Eugene! And he starts going after Eugene, and then Dwight comes and tackles him with his shoulder and gets Negan off course. So he decides to run away. And as he runs away with his baseball bat, in the ensuing shootout, many of the Saviors are killed, while the rest actually willingly put down their weapons and surrender. And then concurrently, a small Savior convoy reaches the hilltop. The residents all evacuate through a secret passage to the woods behind the community, and then Tara and Alden stay behind to slow down the Saviors. And Tara wants to do it all herself, and Alden's like, no, let me help you with this. You're going to need some help. And he's like, anybody want to come help? And a bunch of Saviors that were held captive by the hilltop arm themselves and back up Tara. So these savior people aren't too bad. And then they stay behind, and then all of a sudden the saviors that come out of the hilltop that were trying to kill people in there are hit by like exploding cocktails thrown by the returning Oceanside community led by Cindy and Aaron. So finally, Oceanside did something of worth. They've been pointless up to this point, and they probably still are, in my opinion, but they did something. And then back at the field, Rick pursues Negan to a tree where two stained glass windows hang. One of Rick's shots fractures one of the windows, and Negan attacks Rick with Lucille. The two grapple until Negan gains the upper hand. He tells Rick he wanted to kill him back when they first met, but couldn't do that in front of Carl. And then Rick says there can be another way and convinces Negan to hear him out for Carl's sake. That there could be a peaceful future for the both of them. And then Negan seems to be listening and becomes tearful when, with Negan's guard down, Rick uses a shard of broken glass to slice Negan's throat, while the combined groups watch from a distance. And then Rick tells Sadiq after that happens to save him, much to Maggie's anguish. Maggie's furious due to the fact that she wanted Negan to suffer for killing her husband, Glenn. And then Michonne restrains Maggie as Rick tells the gathered people that they will start a new world living in peace, and that the walkers are the real enemy, or enemies, stating that all the communities, including the saviors, must work together in order to survive. And then as everybody departs, Rick falls against the tree and tearfully says to himself, "My mercy prevails over my wrath," a scene that we saw in the first episode of the season, episode number 100, Mercy. And then eventually the eventually the survivors regroup back at their various communities. At the hilltop, Aiden tells Maggie that he will stay and help build the inventions from the book given to Maggie by Georgie, the key. And then the Oceanside group revitalize the sanctuary. In exchange, a large amount of food and other supplies are given to Terrell for the hilltop. And then Dwight, whom Daryl has driven deep into the woods, profusely apologizes for his actions, but acknowledges to Daryl that he deserves to die. And then instead, Daryl gives him the keys to the truck and tells him to go and make it right, and don't ever return. If he comes back, he'll kill him, but find his wife, find her, Sherry. And then later, Dwight arrives at their old house and finds a recent note from Sherry. And then at the junkyard, Morgan stops by to see Jadis and tells her that Rick has invited her to join the community and be part of the group. Surprisingly, I wouldn't trust Jadis after all the weird shit she's done. I don't like Jadis' character, but, I mean, a backstory on her would be really interesting. And then Morgan says that he's actually going to stay behind in the junkyard to be alone, as he has decided he cannot be around people at the time being. Which, this episode essentially went right into season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead. And Morgan gets visited by Jesus, Carol, and Rick, and eventually just starts walking and ends up in Texas for Fear the Walking Dead. So unfortunately, this is the last, at the moment, that we've seen of Morgan on the regular Walking Dead show. And then back in her office at the hilltop, Maggie has a private meeting with Jesus and then Daryl. They believe Rick and Michonne made a mistake by keeping Negan alive, and the three allude to rectifying this once the hilltop has become, to regroup and fortify and become a thriving community. And in the infirmary, Rick and Michonne explain to a recovering Negan that he will spend the rest of his life in a cell while he watches their community thrive. And at Alexandria, Gabriel returns to the burnt-out remains of the church and thanks God for helping him by showing him the light. And then in the final scene of the season, Rick reads his own letter back to Carl, saying that he remembers that earlier day too and thanks him for leading him down to this point. So that's the end of the episode. Pretty crazy episode, although it went a little bit different than I thought. This is the end of All Out War. As far as the score, I'm going to give it an 8.6 out of 10. I like a lot of things that we saw, but I think the actual end war wasn't anything at all. It should have been more of a Battle of the Bastards type of thing. Maybe not quite to that degree, but something like that. But they had all these, small battles in each of the episodes that led to this. Rick, you'd think he would have killed Negan, but that's what Carl wanted Negan to survive, and I don't know. So, pretty crazy episode, though. I feel like it was a little bit of a letdown for this finale just because I thought it was going to be a much bigger scale. But nonetheless, I'm going to give it an 8.6 out of 10. The character of the episode, I could give it to many people in this episode. Eugene, for helping them. And I should mention that Rosita clocked Eugene for throwing up on her. I'm going to give the character of the episode to Rick because Rick was pretty awesome in this. Although Negan was good, Eugene was good. It could have went to various people. So you've heard what I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of The Walking Dead and you like this season finale from season 8 titled The Wrath, go ahead and smash that like button. And maybe you didn't like the episode, but if you're a fan of The Walking Dead regardless, go ahead and smash the like button as well. If anybody you think would be interested in this, share the video with them. Don't forget to leave me a comment with your thoughts, anything Walking Dead related. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.